The long-running police drama Blue Bloods is gearing up for its 13th season this October. We followed Commissioner Frank Reagan and his family life for years now, and it's been one hell of a ride. With various cast members exiting the show mysteriously and some not so mysteriously, there's definitely a lot of tea to spill. Let's talk about why many of the Blue Bloods cast ended up leaving and where they're at now. Starting with our first ever exit, Jennifer Esposito. Even though the CBS show has managed to hold on to the core characters of the story, there have been some fan-favorite cast members who've left under controversial circumstances. The first of these was Esposito, who played the badass detective Jackie Curatola. The first 3 seasons of Blue Bloods sailed smooth. The story was picking up, the reputation of the show was gaining traction, and all was well, until Jennifer left the series. Now, Detective Jackie wasn't part of the tight-knit Reagan group, and yet her absence on the show still left fans outraged. It didn't help matters that there was no proper reason given for her exit by CBS. Apparently, the actress had requested to work on a limited part-time schedule, and that it didn't work for the show's producers. So she was given leave. Ready for the actual drama? According to Esposito, this was a lie. She said that CBS had let her go amid some health issues, and that she was basically bullied into leaving. She also revealed that the showrunners didn't believe that she actually had celiac disease, which led to a period of unpaid leave. Shocking, right? As if to add insult to injury, CBS hired Megan Boom, a white actress, as Jennifer's replacement. The 49-year-old actress called the network out for whitewashing her role and essentially creating an all-white cast for Blue Bloods. We didn't think that any shows post-2010 would have to face that accusation, but it seems like the TV industry is still coming to terms with diversity. Next up is Nick Turturro. Didn't he love being on the show? If you've been an avid fan of Blue Bloods, you'll remember the time when Nick Turturro took to Twitter to ask fans if they'd help his character, Sergeant Anthony Renzulli, get more screen time on the show. He even mentioned something to do with the Sergeant Renzulli spin-off. Then why did the actor decide to leave the show after the 6th season? Well, the answer to that remains pretty ambiguous. His character on the show just disappeared mysteriously, which is quite the gaping loophole if you ask us. And Turturro himself hasn't told the press any specific reasons for his exit. Fans of course speculated to the fullest as to why Nick may have felt compelled to move on from Blue Bloods. The most probable explanation is pretty simple. Turturro just wanted to be part of a newer and better ventures. Being part of the same storyline for 6 years can get boring, and as Turturro has already played a similar role in NYPD Blue, he may have just wanted to take a breather. Looking at his filmography since then, we can definitely say he's taken on some really diverse roles. Kudos to him. Going towards the almost immediate exit of David Ramsey. This time, fans weren't given the luxury of 3 seasons to get over the pain of their favorite cast members leaving. Just 1 season after Sergeant Anthony Renzulli's departure, David Ramsey announced that he'd be taking off from Blue Bloods as well. His character, Mayor Carter Poole, has been an instrumental one for the show, and yet fans had to say goodbye to him shortly after his first ever assassination attempt. But the actor did have a pretty good reason for having to bow out, and we're a little conflicted over it. Basically, around the time of filming the 7th season of the show, Ramsey landed himself a brand new role, bodyguard John Diggle in the CW's Arrow. Now, it's not unheard of for actors to juggle 2 roles together, but in David's case, the filming locations of Arrow and Blue Bloods were quite literally miles apart. CW shot its hit superhero show in Vancouver, while Ramsey had to film in New York for his Mayor Carter Poole role. This hectic travel plan was obviously not feasible, and eventually the 50-year-old actor had to choose which show to pursue. Unsurprisingly, he went with the more popular Arrow, saying, "It's not easy traveling coast to coast, and now I have a 5-year-old child. I love the writing on Blue Bloods, and I wanted to be in New York, but there was no place for me to be a regular at the time. We loved seeing him in the Arrowverse just as much as the Mayor, so we're not really complaining either way." Let's talk about Amy Carlson's very controversial end in the show. Linda Reagan was certainly an interesting character in Blue Bloods. She was present from the start, but it was only after season 5 that she managed to climb up the ranks and become one of the core characters of the show. You can probably understand how shocked fans were when Amy's character met a sudden and confusing death in season 7. Apparently, she got into a helicopter crash while treating a patient. The weird thing that even Carlson herself wasn't pleased with was how her death was announced in the show. We only got the slightest mention of her passing with a scene of Danny Reagan visiting her grave. The actress thought that this robbed the audience of the closure they deserved with one of the constants of the show. Donnie Wahlberg, who played her husband, shared how their last scene together was full of actual grief at having to say goodbye to his fellow cast member. As to why Linda had to be killed off to give Amy an exit from the show, well, it was actually the actress's own idea. Yeah, we know. The actress admitted to Deadline that after having been on the show for 7 years, she was looking forward to take the next step in her career. She felt that the time was right to make her leave, as her contract also ended by the end of the 7 years. Seems like a reasonable reason. Last but not least, Sammy Gale's life-imitating art led her to leave. Confused? Don't be. Gale played Nikki Reagan for a decade in Blue Bloods, and her announcement that she was stepping out of her role came as a surprise to fans. But as the season 11 promo pictures rolled in, she was present in the photos, boggling our minds even more. Turns out, Nikki Reagan appeared in only 1 episode in the entire season, her excuse being that she was going off to university. And guess what? Sammy herself was planning on going to college, taking this as the perfect opportunity to say goodbye to the show. She left to pursue her studies. Sammy attended Columbia University while her character traveled to San Francisco for uni. Get what we mean about life imitating art now, but this does tell us that Sammy's departure from the show isn't permanent. As soon as the actress finishes her degree, she'll probably return to her a role as Nikki and develop her storyline further. Let's wait and see. Now moving on to where the cast members are at now. Don't worry, none of them have gone to the dark side of the showbiz industry yet. On the contrary, most of the cast seem to be doing quite well in their personal and career lives. First up is Nick Turturro, who's done quite a lot for his acting career since leaving Blue Bloods. The actor's played several different roles in various TV shows and movies, including a supporting role in the Oscar-nominated Black KK Klansman. Like most actors, he's also been dabbling in directing and producing, and we can't wait to see what his next project is going to be. Another cast member who took a similar path was none other than David Ramsey. As we talked about earlier, Ramsey decided to be part of the Arrowverse full-time, but not just in the role of John Diggle. He also got to take a part in some behind-the-scenes directing and camera work, which he continued since, by directing episodes of Supergirl and Superman and Lois. Even though Arrow is now over, Ramsey's character Diggle is still a part of the DC universe, and so he's been making cameos in many of the franchise's shows, like Batwoman. Seems like he's got his hands full. The final cast member whose future ahead of Blue Bloods we're going to discuss today is Amy Carlson. Despite not receiving the best send-off from the show, Carlson has managed to keep her career trajectory running smooth. Sticking to TV, she worked recurring roles on The Society and The Village, but she did eventually dip her toes into the film industry by shooting films like Sunny Days, The Incoherents, A Bread Factory Part 1, and the indie horror film No Fear. We're glad that the stars only prospered after their stints on the show. Not that we expected any less from these kick-ass cops. That's all for the juicy info we have about the Blue Bloods cast members for you today. Which particular cast member's exit did you think was the most controversial? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.